I'm Lisa Warnhoff, and I am retired from Ben & Jerry's. I was their corporate archivist for 30 years.
And I'm Mitch Curran, and I am still at Ben & Jerry's. I've been at Ben & Jerry's for about 30 years. I have been the company's copywriter. They say I'm the voice of Ben & Jerry's, although I mostly say I'm the voice of me with a little of them.
And this is Lola.
And this is Lola.
Years and years ago, I felt pressure to be straight. Before I even knew about my sexual orientation, I was a school teacher, and you couldn't be gay.
I don't think I probably felt pressure all my life to do all kinds of things, but I've never felt pressure to be straight. Being straight was just a phase for me, but I guess you could say I did my homework in college, to be sure. So I never felt pressured, particularly anywhere except with my parents. My parents were not very comfortable, to say the least, about that.
And my parents passed away years and years ago, so I never had to come out to them. It was pretty quiet and under the radar until the year 2000, when the civil marriage law was suggested.
Civil unions.
We ended up with something called civil unions, and a lot of people did not like that idea. There was this thing called Take Back Vermont.
That was their slogan.
That was the slogan. And who they were taking it back from, I'm not sure, but a lot of folks thought that out-of-staters were coming in and, going to make Vermont the next province town or something.
And then we had to wait until 2009 for Vermont to pass the marriage law, marriage equality for everyone. And the legislature had to override the veto of the governor to get it passed, but that was a first, and that was wonderful.
Up until that point, I always felt kind of accepted, not scared or nervous to be out walking around the streets or anything. But when all of these giant Take Back Vermont signs started, popping up all around the state, you knew that you saw the houses where people lived that did not like you.
It was dicey then to be civil union in Vermont, but to have to go everywhere else and wonder what if a tragedy happened, how would we be treated? Which just wasn't right.
I became much more comfortable who I am when I started working at Ben & Jerry's. Up until that point, my first job was teaching, and teachers at that point had what was called a morals clause. You weren't allowed to be seen in a bar before 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There was dress codes, like I had to wear skirts, I wasn't allowed to wear pants. If it came out that you were gay or lesbian, you would get fired because it was assumed you were a predator. It wasn't until I had changed careers a couple times and met someone and fallen in love that I was like, now I figured it out. Ben & Jerry's was on the forefront of accepting people for who they are. being
In terms of benefits
in terms of benefits. Jerry and Ben always believed that their employees should all have the same benefits package. So very early on, they started offering health insurance to same-sex couples, which was unheard of in the state at that point. Ben and Jerry's got a reputation for accepting people for who they are. And when I first started working here in 1986, it was not uncommon for people to be out. You kind of knew who was seeing who. You didn't have to hide who you were. Unilever is the parent company of Ben & Jerry's, and they have a pretty active LGBTQ group that helped sponsor the float that Ben & Jerry's did in the Gay Pride Parade in Burlington. They rate 100 every year on the Human Rights Campaign businesses. It's a rating for businesses on how well they do with LGBTQ issues in the workplace, and they always score 100. That great benefits and all that kind of thing. So the only downside to working at Ben & Jerry's is eating 3 free pints of ice cream. A visit to a resource center, like a library or the Pride Center in Burlington, has a number of books that you could pick up and take home and read, and not have
people to talk to.
Yeah, people to talk to might be a next step, like once you feel a little more comfortable. But like if you're really questioning whether you are or aren't, maybe just doing some reading and going, yeah, that's how I feel.
I did remember that she was wearing a button that said,
A woman without a man is like a fish without a bicycle.